11:34 at night, Tuesday, 9/21/2021, here on the east coast of the U.S. by New York City. I didn't really prepare anything for this video. I'm not even sure why I'm doing it, except I just felt like doing a video. So I guess there's two main topics or things going on in the news right now. One is continuing about the Hokey Pokey. I'll call it that. Got to try to be creative here, you know what I'm talking about. The other one is the volcano in the Canary Islands, that whole situation that I'm sure you're all aware of. I'm not going to be really discussing any of this in detail. I just wanted to make a quick video, and I'll mention a few things about that, I guess, and that's about it, I guess. So without getting into really specifics about the eruption going on right now, it seems that if you put all the facts together in the reports, not mainstream, but online, that the situation seems to be that it could be getting worse. It could be getting much worse. But that's left to be seen in the next few days at least to see how this progresses. And beyond that, and no one knows for sure what might happen or not. A lot of news, a lot of reports, a lot of people sort of panicking about this whole situation. There's always going to be a lot of shills and thrills reporting and said, and comments and predictions, and that's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. Regardless of what the truth is about any situation, there's always going to be sensationalism. Whether that's applicable to what's going on or not, I don't know. But just briefly, what I can say about that is that all through the years when there's been some kind of major thing that potentially could happen, and those same people made predictions, and that it never happened. Not that it couldn't have happened that way, but they very much are specific, and that this is going to happen, and those things never happen. So, and a lot of times they mention their special sources. I don't know if it's can be taken literally or with a grain of salt, but again, those things never ever pan out from what they say, and it's made to seem like so dramatic. And I don't know, but I mean, they get a lot of views, I'll put it that way, and they're very well followed, so leave it at that. Or making statements like that we're already in the tribulation, and they may not believe in pre-tribulation rapture, and they state that, and I find that's usually the case with those who have a very works-minded belief system, or that's the way they think. But I'm not trying to stir up a issue here. I never really wanted to get involved in all that. I always said that hey, this is a pre-tribulation Rapture channel, and that's the way it is, and that's, I'll always hold to that, and I think that's what Paul said, that's what Jesus said, that's what Scripture clearly states. I guess another thing to mention here is that probably mostly everyone is feeling like, when is the rapture going to happen, getting a little, worried or antsy, or really wondering when how much more of this could go on. Well, that gets to the point of the whole Hokey Pokey situation. To me, how could it go on much longer than the way it is, the way things are progressing? I'm not going to be specific because I'm not going to mention certain words or terms. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll just briefly say, the reports I've heard, so on, probably you have heard too, about what's going on in different countries, how the noose is being tightened, and so on, the hammer coming down. Really, there is no choice about the hokey pokey getting that or not. It's pretty serious. It's gotten to a very serious point. People's jobs are at stake, school, the ability to buy and sell, to even get their money. That's like right out of the Bible. Literally, in certain countries now, that's what's happening. You won't be able to access. You can't access your funds, your money, your own money, if you don't have proof of having gotten that as proof, or going into places, events, any such thing. Doctors, going to doctors, if you don't have proof of the you know what. Even emergency medical care, I've heard. Whatever, really, anything you can imagine now really is starting to be involved in these restrictions. That those who don't have the Pokemon are more or less being accused of perpetuating this pandemonium demonic. You know what I'm saying? I did that on purpose. Actually being deemed as the major threat in all of this, as opposed to those who have already gotten multiple rounds, and now with different strains, new variations of this going around now to be given. I mean to say inoculations, a completely different type for this new. Actually, not just one, but probably several different variations, each one that will require a new round. No matter what it is, not being able to go into restaurants, sporting events, music concerts, conventions, any type of public thing like that. Probably even, I don't know, weddings, I don't know for sure, but something like that. And then I don't want to talk too much here because you know why. But I mean, if I start mentioning what's happening with children at a younger and younger age, even to infants, this is trickling down, the trickle-down effect of Hokey Pokey, going way down to that level, stooping that far, that low. Then with the face covering, with all these kids and so on, all the teachers who are required to get the you know what to be given to them, or they can't teach or be a coach in sports or what have you. I mean, I do feel sorry for these young ones experiencing this. I can't imagine it. I'm not in a position, to have to be in the mainstream, like others. They have to go to jobs they're forced to make a decision that could jeopardize their very livelihood, and that's happening right this second. And lots of consternation and opposition to this in different parts of the world, but it doesn't seem to be, to really matter, unfortunately. And I don't know what's happening in your neck of the woods and where you live, whether it's in the U.S. or overseas, but it's like you go into stores and there's like hardly any help, and they're always trying to find new help. It's like a worker shortage. So that's part, it seems like, of what's happening here. There just aren't enough people to work. Even heard that in Indiana, I believe it is, that the National Guard has been called in to drive buses because there's no bus drivers that want to drive. So, and also saying that the food supply, because there's not even enough dock workers and things like that. I don't know. I hear things like that. However, however much that applies or not, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I hear things. I don't, I'm trying to find out more. I haven't been on in a long time online. So, especially BitChute, that's where, I seem to find they seem to be open to relating that type of information, all types of things that aren't on these other places anywhere else, really. Maybe some other alternative video sites. Yeah, I'm not going to name any more, but you know what they are, probably lesser known, but they're still open to speech that's free. So we're all obviously still here and still waiting here. I had mentioned that back when they first were coming out with the what was it, like November or something of last year, so it's almost a year, and I had mentioned that we just have to wait and see how far this plays out, as far as in relation to the rapture occurring, and that this is a major sign of the fulfillment of prophecy in regard to the mark, coming to pass, as it seems to be here, most undoubtedly, in the stages it's going through. And there's also been a lot of earthquakes just now, just within hours here in the past day or two, also around the world, really, around the fault lines, pretty big ones going off at the same time, of volcanoes and so on. So it's not just in the Canary Islands, apparently, that this kind of activity is taking place. So I don't want to make this too long. I don't want to speak things that I shouldn't say, because I'm not, I'm no expert in any of these things. So just telling you what I heard. But again, probably within the next day or two, if there should be some kind of knowledge, put it that way, concerning the progression of what may or may not happen, with the situation there, La Palma, Cumbre Vieja, if that's how you say it. But all I'm going to say is, I didn't mention the specifics, but that the signs are showing that things are progressing, or I should say deteriorating, with that situation. So, but I'm not here to speculate. I'm not here to, bring fear or anything. I'm just talking as a person. And we all know what's going on, basically, with that, with both topics that I talked about here. Through the years, actually decades, I've had many tidal wave tsunami dreams, very graphic, very real. And most of the times it was like just a wall, a stationary wall of water, maybe hundreds of feet high, just sitting there off the coast, just like a wall. Many times. Other times, these beautiful, well, I don't want to, they're beautiful. It's not beautiful if it's a tidal wave, but not really also, because a lot of times it was dark and sort of like the moon was out or whatever, and you could see these waves, in patches, a lot of times in patches. They didn't really break, but they were coming in, and there's just something majestic or somehow about them, like they had a mind of their own or something, just something, a special feeling about them. Of course, in different dreams, there are different versions of it and different forms of waves, very unusual, that you would never think about. So I don't mean to say that's going to happen. I'm not trying to equate it with what's going on with that volcano going off there off of Spain in those islands. I'm just mentioning that that's dreams I had, that's all. Actually, I'd rather want to comfort others, especially if they're in the South U.S. or wherever in the world around, the oceans, that it might be affected by something coming upon the coasts anywhere, north of the U.S. or south of the U.S., anywhere really, South America and so on. But, not to be upset and worried, and just take it as we go. Um, I don't know what else to say. Just take it as it is, and we'll just see what happens, and try not to worry about anything. Um, I'm just mentioning the reports that I heard, so take it and leave it right there. Not putting more stock in anything or what have you. Um, I guess someone like Dutch Sense, he has a keen grasp of these things, and he's been reporting on this. So, that's a good way to follow this, I think. These other YouTube channels, and some are Christian and so on, I'm sorry, I'm just going to leave it at that. I just don't put much stock in them, in what they're saying, and very hyper, and stating things in a way that they're so sure that this is going to happen. No one can be sure what's going to happen like that. I'm sorry, we really can't. I mean, yes, we can if we follow it, and right now, we're seeing the progression of things, and people are reporting on it level-headedly. There's some other man who lives on La Palma, and he's been doing a good job showing what's going on there. It sounds like thunder constantly going off in the background. He was doing reports just tonight, at night in the dark, and you could see the spewing way in the background, way up in the air, and you could hear the rumblings and just like thunder going off all the time. So very strange. It kind of reminds me of Moses, and Mount Sinai, and looking at Mount Sinai and that type of thing, fire and redness. So I hope I didn't say anything that I shouldn't have said, or in a scary way. I'm not trying to do that. Just be calm and level-headed about these things, and like any other thing that we've gone through for years, things seem so bad and something ready to happen, and it really, thankfully, does really never reaches those levels, whether it's economic collapse or what's been going on with rioting, or whatever it is, or war in the Middle East, or whatever. Not that we should discount or not look at those things and just say, oh, nothing's going to happen. That's not it either. But just to, what I'm saying, most of the times these things don't happen as they're made to be, and it's really a lot of hype. It really is, and sensationalism, especially if their voices are very hyper and loud. And another thing that really kind of bothers me is when others look at a potential catastrophe like this with this volcano. It's like they're almost happy. They don't even believe that the rapture is going to happen first. So I don't know. They think we're in the tribulation, whatever. But my point is, I'm not happy for catastrophes to happen as a sign that the rapture is close and that we're ready to leave. That's kind of how should I explain it or express it? I don't know. It's kind of warped or insensitive. I'm concerned about everyone, whether they're Christians or not. The fate of anyone, any human being, and I think that's what our attitude should be. And again, well, a lot of people who call themselves Christians, they have this attitude against the evil and sin, and they really, say things in a harsh, condemning way, in an uppity way. Jesus didn't come here to condemn, and as far as judgment goes, yes, well, God, Jesus they're going to judge. I think Jesus is more upset about that, as well as angry that, against sin, obviously. So it's kind of a twofold thing going on. But I think that, they want to prolong judgment as much as they can to give their grace and mercy, and that's their attitude, and that should be our attitude, regardless of how badly we want Jesus to appear and to leave here. Um, you know, and again, try not to put too much emphasis on dreams and visions and so forth, but in the right perspective. Especially not trying to string dreams together from this and that and saying that's how things are going to happen. No, we don't know that. I mean, there were videos I've seen, and this is just one small example, but they're everywhere and probably still are, where these people, they say they're believers and they have this self-righteous attitude, and they're saying at this time tomorrow or in the 2 days, we're holding a prayer or invocation to God for the bride or believers to call down judgment upon the world, upon to come down. It's not in my heart to call down judgment on the world or people, but God's grace given to them, right to the last moment, because those such people are condemning. They don't have love in their hearts, and they're sin conscious instead of mercy and grace conscious. So not only toward the world, but toward themselves, and being so self-righteous, and that they're sinless because they're always doing things to make them right. It's in their own self-righteousness, feeling so good about themselves, about repenting. Again, I'm not against being sorry and feeling, bad for what you've done, and you know what I'm saying, that any true believer has true sorrow and feels sorry for, whatever they do, or to be forgiven. I mean, but it's not incumbent upon maintaining or gaining or losing your salvation. It's not, and that's what these others. Well, I'm not going to go preach a whole sermon here, but that's basically what it is. They have the wrong spirit. If they had God's spirit in them, they would see things in that way, in grace and mercy and compassion, regardless of judgment and sin and all these things. And they don't understand because they don't want to understand. It's not going light on sin, but it's going heavy on forgiveness and grace, because that's all any of us can claim. It's not from ourselves, only God's mercy and grace. And many of them are still out there attacking grace, attacking it, cheap grace, hyper grace. It's tragic, it really is, that they have to have that attitude. And that's not the gospel whatsoever. Again, a lot of this probably has to do with those who are teaching this and that have such sway, that are out there and teaching these false works, salvationist, doctrines and teachings. And others, maybe they don't know better, they're a new believer. They're opposing Jesus, they're opposing grace, Jesus' grace and mercy, and they're opposing his righteousness and holding on to their own self-righteousness. So, that's a big issue. I'm not going to go into this much more here. I'm almost done. But, some may say, well, they're not, it's all, we all go through our different ways of coming to believe and growth and everything and so forth. And so, don't be so hard on these such people. But I don't see it that way. It's a matter of leaving the truth or not. And anyone can do that this second or not, whether they've believed for 1 second or 50 years. And there's been many who've believed for decades and decades, and they still are totally self-righteous. Only God knows what the real story is with their salvation, but it's a good indication that they believe a false gospel regardless, especially if they hear someone like me and others, and there's not many out there anymore really, who speak against such things and present the pure message apart from us whatsoever. There's no salvation apart from what Jesus did. We can't do anything, not to earn it, not to get it originally, or to think we could keep it in our own self-effort. And that's what they're doing, and they're trampling upon grace. And so as long as that's going on, I'm going to speak out against it, whether they're, no matter what age they are, or it seems like I'm being too harsh, or, not giving leeway, or taking into account maturity and so forth. And, well, put it this way, if they're old enough to believe the lies of self-righteousness so quickly, then they're sure old enough to believe the truth of Jesus' righteousness and of his mercy alone to be saved. So it's a two-edged sword, two sides of this coin. That's the way I look at it. Okay, that's it. Been on here quite a long time, and so whatever things might happen or not in the next couple days, we'll see. So, what time is it now? Yeah. Oh, it's past midnight, so we're into Wednesday. So if I even put this video out, it won't be till tomorrow anyway, and I'll probably see, and everyone will probably see any further developments with the Canary Island situation and the volcanic eruption. So anyway, this video might be outdated by then. I don't know, maybe not. And hopefully just that will keep venting gradually and release pressure slowly. That seems to be what's happening. There's several vents. Again, I don't want to get into all the details of this, but there's 7 vents, I think, that are venting right now. And anyway, that's it. I won't go into it anymore, and we'll just see what happens. All right. So maybe, I don't know if I'll be back in a day or two or whatever to discuss this, or the Hokey Pokey Pokemon Pandemanium. All right. Take it easy. God bless.